Welcome to another book wrap-up video. So it's a little bit late, I know, but it's final season, so time literally means nothing. I don't know what day it is, don't know what time it is, I just know it's exam time. So it's been a little crazy recently, but I still managed to read a decent amount of books in March. I read some bangers in March. Oh, my love Pete, like multiple 5-star reads. So let's just get into it. The first book, I started the month with the Summer I Turned Pretty series, which was mentioned in my last February wrap-up video. The first book was absolutely beautiful. I know I said this in my February video because I was like halfway through and I was like, I know I'm gonna want to reread this book for sure. I'm definitely gonna order it. It's absolutely beautiful. I love any book set in a beach town is already like the least it could possibly get is a 3 stars, but I know it's probably gonna be a 4-star just because I just love the beach town aesthetic. And it's just it was such a good book. And don't get me started on the show that's coming out. I'm pretty sure it's coming out next month and I'm so excited because the characters are exactly how I pictured them, because I refused to look at them until I finished the book, or the whole series really, because I didn't want to like see the characters and then see them as I was reading. I wanted to just like whoever I pictured was who I pictured, you know? So, but they're absolutely beautiful. They're exactly who I pictured. And then I read the second book in the series, It's Not Summer Without You, I think. Yeah, It's Not Summer Without You. I rated that book a 3 stars. I didn't love it because it's a love triangle between the 2 brothers, and for most of the series I was Team Jeremiah because he seemed more affectionate towards her and just a safer choice, because Conrad was like the childhood crush and she, like, no matter what he did he could never do wrong, even though he was super moody and like straight up rude to her multiple times. And so I was Team Jeremiah, but then some stuff happens that makes me not Team Jeremiah. And then I just don't want to give too much away. And then the third book, We'll Always Have Summer, I gave it 2 stars because I absolutely hated it. I'm so sorry, but I absolutely hated it. It was so bad. I really don't want to spoil it, but there's a proposal. There's a proposal in there, and obviously there's some drama with that. The wedding may or may not end up happening, you know. I really don't want to spoil it, but it's just really, like, the third book is so bad. It's so bad, but I mean the ending is fine, but it's also really rushed. So I don't know. It wasn't my favorite. The series as a whole is beautiful because of the setting. Like, I love the setting of it and I love the characters, but I will only ever reread the first book. I won't reread the other 2. But overall, I'd give the series like a 3 or 3.5. Just like some of the things that Jeremiah does in the last book is just really not who I thought my cutie little Jeremiah was. After I finished that, I read The Legacy by Elle Kennedy. This is the fifth book in the off-campus series, because the first 4 are about the 4 different couples. Then the 5th one is a couple years in the future of all the couples. The Legacy, a 2 stars with peace and love. The first 4 books are so magical and I just love them so much, and I just didn't love this one. I felt like I would have been okay without this book. Hannah and Garrett's book and Grace and Logan's book, like section of this book, were really good, really beautiful, really like summed up the relationship. I really liked it. Dean and Allie's and Sabrina and Tucker's was just not the vibe. They fought a lot and they had a lot of problems, and I know that's just like, I know it was supposed to like, because the first 4 books were so magical and everything was just perfect and the guys were groveling for the girls and it was just beautiful. There were no problems. Whenever there were, the guys would really try to fix them and like really win the girls over. And the magic was just like not in these, and especially in Sabrina and Tucker's section of the book. They go on vacation and it's like a little bit dramatic how bad everything goes on this vacation, to the point where they're literally like, please can we just go home? Like they're supposed to be on a cute little honeymoon away from their kid. They have a little toddler and they're finally away, and genuinely like one of them ends up in prison. Somebody gets a coconut smacked on their head and they pass out. They both get horrendous sun poisoning. Like it's just like every single thing that could go wrong goes wrong, and it's just not satisfying at all to read. I wanted to try something new because I always go towards young adult, or I go towards romance, or sometimes I go towards fantasy, but it's like always that sort of genre. So I really wanted to try something new this year and reach out for more genres and books that I wouldn't typically pick up. So I said, boom, we're gonna go to the library, we're gonna go to, I flipped a coin. It was, I think it was heads, nonfiction, tails, fiction. Landed on tails, so I went to the new fiction shelf in the library, and 8 is my number, it's my numerology number. So I said, whatever is the 8th book on the new fiction shelf, I'll check out. And so I did, and it ended up not being a terrible book. I definitely would have never picked it up on my own, just because, well, first of all, adult fiction is never my forte. I'm a young adult girly. I don't care that I'm turning 23 this year. Like, you just can't beat a young adult. But I have been recently being disappointed with young adult, just because the recent young adult books that I've read have been a little childish. So I checked out the 8th book, Thank the Love of Pete. It was not the 7th book because the 7th book was in Spanish. I don't know how that would have gone down. Actually, I know how it would have gone down. I would have had to give up on my journey and it would have really just put me down. So I checked out In Every Mirror She's Black. I gave it a 2 stars. I liked it. It was very real though, and very raw and authentic, and I'm used to books ending with a nice ending, and this book did not have a nice ending. Definitely a trigger warning for a lot. Trigger warning for depression, violence, sexual assault / harassment, suicide. Yeah, it's a dark book. So it follows 3 women. It follows their stories. They all are connected to Sweden and this white man's company. And one of them works for him as a maid, kind of maintenance girly. One of them is his girlfriend, and one of them, or fiance / wife, they end up getting married, and then one of them works for him as a, I forget what the official title was, but it was essentially a diversity social media manager. It was just to make them look good because they had the one black woman working for a white man's company filled with white people, and they had recently had a scandal come out because they had been slightly racist in a campaign. So they're all connected to this one man. They're all end up living in Sweden. And it is really interesting to hear the three different women's perspectives and their stories and how their lives all started not in Sweden and then they all ended up like intertwining into each other's lives. The three women, however, all three of them do not have a happy ending. Gave it a 2 stars just because it was very dark and at times triggering. Will I do this again though? For sure. I really liked the randomization of just going in there, picking out a book, boom, done. Nothing. I did not read the back. Well, actually, I never read the back. I just like to go in blindly. But yeah. Let's try out the new Harry Potter book. So I picked up Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. Ooh, again with the not holding the magic of the original books. I gave it a 2 stars. I'm so sorry. It was just not that good. Harry is literally 30s, 40s. And he's still just as immature as he was when he went to Hogwarts. And that was just really grinding my gears because he was so immature. I did like the Scorpius and Albus friendship. That was really cute. I liked how Draco and Harry were kind of friends in this. And it was nostalgic. Like, it was nostalgic to read because seeing like the kids, now they're adults and they're still friends, now their kids are friends. That was cute. But yeah, I would like to see the play, but it's not on DVD or any streaming, like you literally have to go to London to see it live. So yeah, I would definitely love to see it as a play. I don't have anything else to say about that book. That is all the time that it deserves. Then, recently, I read The Boy Who Was Raised as a Dog. I had to read this for my child welfare class. I read this throughout the whole semester, but I recently just finished it. I gave it a 3 stars. I actually really enjoyed it. For a school book, usually I don't love them because they're school books and we have to read them for knowledge and not for, I don't know, like usually they're stressful because we have to write a paper on them or we have to do a big project on them, but this was purely just like so we could learn about Dr. Perry's experiences. He has another book actually that he wrote with Oprah called What Happened to You, I think? I don't know. I added it to my TBR. I will be checking that out soon, maybe. I don't know. It sounds interesting. I would like to read it. But this book is about Dr. Perry's experiences. He's a psychiatrist, child psychiatrist, and he has 10 different children's cases that he puts in here and personal experiences. And obviously, child psychiatrist, you're gonna experience quite a bit of dark topics because it comes from child trauma and child traumatic experiences. But the chapter that I had to do a like class discussion on, I had to lead a class discussion in my class. The girl had to watch her mom's ex-boyfriend murder her mom, and her throat was slashed in the process. And it gets a little graphic. She goes to drink milk and the milk comes out of her throat. So there are some chapters that are definitely heavier than others. There's also a really interesting chapter about the Waco children, the children that were released from Waco, and just how absolutely brainwashed they were. And I mean, even like the girls and boys would sit at separate tables. The girls would look towards the guys. I'm talking children. Like the girls would look towards the guys and they'd be like, what should we do? Like, what should our plan B next. Literally just like, do you want bologna or do you want PB&J? And they would have to ask the guys what they should have. And so that was really interesting. And I really liked how Dr. Perry made a good effort of sharing his personal experiences and then sharing scientific like research about like why the brain works like that and how the brain is affected differently if you're 12 versus if you're 17 experience traumatic events. I just really liked it. I learned a lot, and I'm gonna be the first to say that I don't love kids, but reading this I realized just how much kids go through and how much they understand that they're going through, because a common concept that came up in this book was children are resilient, they're fine. And there was one point where there were children who witnessed their family being murdered and they were covered in blood and just like in the corner, and the detectives were like, oh, they'll be fine, they're kids, they'll forget about it. And it's just like, they're not though. That's gonna be just in their subconscious for the rest of their lives, and they never, like just recently we've started looking into children, like getting them into therapy sooner rather than later, because they go through life and they are seen as bad kids because they're acting out when they're really going through something, and they're acting out because they need help and they need attention and they don't know how to further act, like they don't know how to act because it's hard for someone who's living in a traumatic experience in an environment, and they go home and they're constantly wondering if they're gonna get beat or get yelled at or experience their mother getting beat or their siblings being beat. They're focusing on fight or flight. They're not focusing on the alphabet or what they're learning. They're checking everywhere to see, is that person gonna cause me harm? Is that person gonna cause me harm? If I turn right now, like, are they gonna hit me? Like, they can't focus on school, rightfully so, because their brain is in a constant fight or flight mode. And so that's just, I mean, I don't want to go on a whole rant here, but this book really just like opened my eyes to how much kids go through, and resilience is learned. It's not, children aren't born with it. I would like to share a quote. I'm starting to lose my voice. I really went on a rant there. I'd like to share a little quote. A quote that I took away from this book. I mean, I took a lot of quotes away from this book. This book was full of just like, whoa, like I learned a lot. Anyhow, at times we make ourselves feel superior, smarter, or more competent by dehumanizing or degrading those who are different. The roots of so many of our species' ugliest behaviors, racism, ageism, misogyny, anti-Semitism, to name just a few, are in this basic brain-mediated response to perceived threat. We tend to fear what we do not understand, and fear can so easily twist into hate. So just think about that. Before you go judge someone, think where that's coming from. Are you judging them because they did something wrong, or are you judging them because you don't understand them? If you see someone walking down the street with pink hair, think before you judge. Think, well, just because I wouldn't have pink hair doesn't mean I need to be rude to them or mean to them. Maybe they have pink hair because their grandma's favorite color was pink and they recently passed away. You don't understand people, but that doesn't mean you need to judge them. Or if you want to judge them, first get to know them, then you can judge them all you want. I have plenty of people that I judge because I know them and they're terrible people. Anywho, I've been on my soapbox for too long. Yeah, got me good. But I gave that 3 stars. I could give it 4, but because I read it over, I've been reading it since January. So I've just been reading it for 4 months, so it's hard to give it more than 3 stars because it's just been a lot. So, what I finished the month with was a 5-star read. I have a little Instagram where I post all my pictures of the books that I read and then the highlighted quotes that I love. And I posted this with some highlighted quotes, and Elle Kennedy herself liked and commented the heart eyes emoji. Am I famous? Maybe. Girlie, send me your next book that's coming out. Love you. So I read Good Girl Complex. First of all, it was a hunt and a half to find this book because none of my local bookstores had it. I checked Richmond, I checked Charlottesville, none in Harrisonburg. I didn't check, but I checked online to see if they had them. So I had to order online. But it finally came, read it in 2 days. Oh my god, this is a beautiful book. Even better, it's the beginning of a series. The next book comes out in October. I will be getting it immediately. So, if you can't tell from the cover, it's set in a beach town. So, first of all, can I just say, there's not one thing I would change about this book. When I go to bed at night, after reading, because I like to read before bed, and when I turn off my light and I close my eyes, I reimagine the book if I would have written it. Every single night I sat, nothing. There's literally nothing I would change about this book. I love it so much. Okay, so enter Mac. She is a freshman in college, but she took a gap year between high school and college because she wanted to travel around Europe, and then she started working on an app, like a kind of like a meme app. It's called Girlfriend Fails and then Boyfriend Fails. The two apps that she has, multi-million-dollar companies. Like she's going crazy. Independent woman. But her parents saying, nope, this is trash. This isn't real. You need to go to school. So she says, fine, I'll go to school. Even though I clearly don't need it because I have millions in my bank account already. Her parents are uppity-puppity. Her dad runs some business. I don't even remember what, because I hate him. And the mom just sits by her dad's side as a little trophy wife and does like little charities and stuff. His boyfriend gets into a fight with the bartender at the bar, and the bartender is Cooper. He gets fired because obviously this rich kid is like, I'm suing, I'm gonna take your company to, and it's obviously like a little small beach town bar. So if they have any type of lawsuit, their doors are shut. So he gets fired from the job, and then his little group is like, hey, we know what we can do to get back at him. We're gonna publicly embarrass him. You're gonna start dating his girlfriend, and then get the little rich kid upset, and then boom, dump her. And then boom, they're both embarrassed, and you just ruined his life. And it's very like the townies versus the clones is what they're called. So it's like rich versus poor kids, or locals versus like the upper class people. As you can guess, a little challenge turns real. It's like, I wouldn't say it's slow burn, I'd say it's slow simmer, because they have little moments where it's like, okay, but I have a boyfriend, and they never do anything about it, but they're both clearly really into each other. You have the bad boy, good girl. You have the tight-knit friend group. When I first started this, I thought it was gonna be like off campus. Off campus, it's just like about the romance. There's a plot, but the plot's not the main part. Like, it's just like the romance, really. But this is about the plot. It's about the plot, and it's such a good plot. And I really like their relationship is very real and very authentic, and it just, they're not like boom perfect. They have their fights, they have their arguments, and it's very much like, it's just so real, and I really liked it. And when I was reading the reviews on Goodreads, I was genuinely shocked because everybody hates it. They're like, oh, it's so cliche, it's the guy dates the girl for a bit and then she finds out, and then it all goes down. It's just, I think it's so much more than that. I thought it was such a good book, and then reading all these terrible reviews on Goodreads, I was just like, but, so Cooper has a twin brother, Evan, and his ex-girlfriend keeps being brought up in this book. She recently moved to Charleston to get away from him. But the next book is about Evan and Genevieve, the girlie from Charleston who's back in town, and I cannot wait to read it. And also, can we just talk about the cover? The cover is so beautiful. Like, I wouldn't have the good girl complex all kind of be, but if this was like a print, I would love that. I would love to have that on my wall. 5 stars, absolutely beautiful. Here, let me show you. There's the proof. Elle Kennedy. Hey girlie, can I get on your PR package list, please? Send me the new books every time. I will review them. I'll probably give them 5 stars. And then just to round up this little video, the book / series that I'm going into April with is a series that I've put off for over a year. I've had the whole series sitting in my closet for 6 months because I was so, well, I'm still worried that I'm never gonna read a better series. Every single person that has read this series has been in like a 2 to 3 month book hangover where they can't read anything because nothing comes close. I am halfway through the first book and I just started it yesterday, and I'm in between phases of wanting to literally sit down and just binge the whole series immediately because I love it so much, and wanting to savor it like a fine wine and read like a chapter a night because it is so beautiful, but I have no self-control, so I will never be able to do that. So the series that I'm starting April with, it is, I don't want to talk too much about it because I'm literally halfway through the first book and there's 4 other books, but it's really good. It's like really good. Like after reading last night, I shed a single tear because it is absolutely so beautiful, and it's a little bit silly. Like, it's a little bit silly, and I'm sad that I'm reading it because I'll never be able to read it for the first time again. But I physically could not hold off any longer. I've been putting this off for so long, and every time I'd open my closet doors, I'd see the little box in there, and I'm like, I don't want to go too feral. All I'm saying is, right now it's a 5-star read. I'm not sure if I'm gonna make this like a monthly thing, of like a monthly reading wrap up, because I definitely want to do one at the end of the year of just like a quick, all the books that I read this year, and then like a separate section for 5-star reads. That's all I got for you. So, hope you enjoyed. I enjoyed, clearly. I mean, my favorite thing to do is reading, so why not share? So, yeah. I read some not so great books this month, but I also read some absolute bangers, so I made up for it, and I started the most beautiful series I'll probably ever read. So